This is digital research across the disciplines, humanities, and access to knowledge. Brought to you by Kimberly, Shivani, Ashley, Lauren, Anika, and Jake. First off, we'd like to start off with a presentation overview, which tells us that in this presentation we will be covering impact of digitized humanities, large-scale textual analysis, digital as a dirty word, and finally, digital transformation of desk research. Digital humanities became prominent around the middle of the first decade of the 21st century. Humanities scholars are extremely enthusiastic about the digitization of resources and research, more than the scholars of social sciences. When compared to social scientists, digital research materials in the fields of humanities were much more familiar in terms of use and efficiency. These sorts of small-scale impacts indicate when students have access to a resource and can be significant even in small numbers. For example, creating copies from materials such as newspapers or books is much easier and quicker with the use of digital resources. Scholars in our generation are more likely to embrace digital resources due to our already active use of Facebook, YouTube, and other social media sites. Digital resources have impacted teaching by making materials easily accessible online. The Old Bailey Proceedings Online, OBPO, found that although the OBPO was used for courses focusing on crime and criminal justice, it was also being used by courses focused on the use of primary sources, such as special subjects, and methods and skills courses. Replay, a digital archive of dance resources, allowed dance teachers access to dance works that otherwise could be unavailable. The Oxford University podcast collection has inspired teachers and given them new ideas. Digital research allows students to work with primary source material early in their academic careers. Digital collections engage next generation researchers by giving them readily available data from the internet and pushes students to research by the use of digital methods. Large-scale textual analysis is the analysis of text from collections of books. Humanities has often been linked to teaching and research practices, but while discussing textual analysis, this research is also known to provide insights or novel questions from different well-established domains. It can also provide novel insights about language uses. For example, the English term feminism and the French term féminisme was monitored watching the rise and fall of the term. It was monitored over the 20th century to provide information about the cultural significance of the term in different cultural contexts, as well as in different time periods. Our first example of large-scale textual analysis is a culturomics study that utilizes the digitization of more than 5 million books, approximately 4% of all books ever printed, through the Google Books project. This project examines a corpus of more than 500 billion words, which easily fits our definition of big data. The definition, to remind you, is data a magnitude larger than any previous research in the domain. It also represents a new form of interaction with research materials in the humanities. More generally, the study claims that this is a new science, hence the suffix omics in culturomics, and that culturomic results are a new type of evidence in the humanities. Our second example is the Lit Lab at Stanford University. The Lit Lab examines 2,779 19th century British novels. They were analyzing word frequencies in these novels. These books were located in a commercial database of digitized books. Through their analysis, they found that there was a decline in abstract value words and an increase in hard seed words. Hard seed words are known as concrete, physical, specific, and non-evaluative words. This study again claimed new findings. The authors hypothesized that this shift in word usage could be linked to social change, in particular rapid urbanization in British society. Culturomics encourages a scientific approach to the humanities, quantitative methods. The Stanford Lit Lab has opened a new door within literary studies known as distant reading, which differs from close reading. A benefit of distant reading is that other researchers were able to add to these existing studies. They were able to compare their results with existing results or compare results with other keywords. This makes them differ from the other Lit Lab study, which requires the researcher to have access to a commercial database of literary texts. The Stanford Lit Lab holds the promise of a rigorous, quantitative, hypothesis-driven, and systematic approach to the study of culture and literature using patterns of words on a large scale. Some of these studies have brought from criticism. The main area of question is distant reading rather than culturomics. Distant reading has brought more a response because the challenge has come from within the study of literature and published in the humanity journals. It has ruffled feathers among other literary scholars, whereas scientists publishing on culturomics in the Journal of Science seems less threatening. Digital as a dirty word. A humanities scholar said in an interview, "I do feel pressure to work more with originals than with digital images. But for the most part, I do feel like I get more out of using these images on my computer. And there's a certain pressure that's what not top scholars do, because that's not what top scholars did for 25 years. Digital research can be looked down upon as a lesser version of physical research. This is due to the idea that top scholars many years ago did not have digital resources that we have today. Digital research can also be looked down upon due to the sources we use. When people use Wikipedia, for example, we are unsure that the information is 100% true. Digital research and resources are not bad, though. With the great increase in our digital world, it is important to find the good sources and the better way to use digital information. 98% of scholars find digital research to be useful. However, even though many scholars find digital research to be useful, they also find some sources to be not credible. For example, as said before, Wikipedia, which many scholars believe to be not cited because of its lack of credibility. However, a form that is cited frequently is paper versions of digital texts. They earn more respect from the source than the digital version itself. Even though digital research is useful and can bring many great things, it is important to still value the print research database. In sum, what we can see is the uses of digital tools and resources in research, both print and digital. as in teaching, is an ongoing shift towards the online world. But a shift is difficult to capture because it is so varied and again ongoing. Science, or knowledge and technology, is the making rather than already made. In the humanities, consulting both primary and secondary materials constitutes a major type of activity for researchers, and the humanities have been particularly transformed in terms of how desk research is done. The bottom of the diagram shown indicates the traditional path of the creation and discovery of knowledge before the Internet was implemented. Individual researchers and teams of researchers drew information from printed journals and books distributed to them directly or via research libraries. The top of the diagram shown clearly shows the shift into e-research and online scholarship, resulting in intricate series of interacting feedback loops. The top left portion of the diagram demonstrates the research section of the ecosystem, in which shared and distributed data tools are accessed online. These could be part of the cloud, live on the grid, or possibly part of federated data sets. The top right-hand portion of the diagram indicates the complementary feedback loop in operation, where academics are accessing the scholarly communication layer in varying paths. Here, we can see that the reliance on journal subscriptions and library access diminishes as scholars are more frequently using search engines, specifically Google, to find resources. It is important to note that the relationship between traditional research and e-research as not being binary, because it is shown that e-research is involved along the vertical axis. Contrarily, the vertical axis shows differences at the two poles, with evidence supporting the claims that scholars are moving upwards in the ecosystem towards online modes during scholarly processes.